Hey y'all. Hey. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Happy Tuesday. Let me make sure y'all can hear me. As you come in, let me know where you're watching from. You know the drill. Uh, Let me know if you can hear me. So excited to chat with you all on the last day of the Builders Challenge. Hey, Nikki, can you hear me? Hopefully you can hear me. I promise y'all, we won't be here for a long time. We're not here for a long time today. I know I say that a lot, but we definitely won't be in here for a long time. So let me know where y'all watching from. Hey, Derek, the story of Derica. Hey, Godchild is watching from Maryland. Hey. Corey is watching from Memphis, Tennessee. Hey, Corey. Are you new to my channel, Corey? I don't know if I've ever seen you in the chat. Luxury of Time, hey, from Fort Lauderdale, good to see you. Manny's World of Creations, hey, from Delaware. How y'all doing? How y'all, tell me how y'all doing. Let me know how y'all doing. I am currently traveling, doing research, and so it's cold out here, y'all. So I am not in hot Vegas, and I'm a little bit chilly. So, but let me know how y'all doing. How y'all feeling? How y'all feeling this Tuesday? Corey says, nope, not new. Oh, okay. Well, hey, anyway, I don't know. Welcome. It's good to see you. Daquetta, I hope that's how I pronounce your name. From South Carolina. How you doing, girl? Good to see y'all. Nikki says she's tired and still fighting for her salvation. I'm laughing because I know how that feels. I'm laughing because I get it. The story of Derica says she's feeling great. Manny's World says recovering from being sick. Oh man, I hope you feel better. Godchild said not too good, but I'm breathing. I totally understand that. Y'all listen, this is apparently I thought today was the last day of the Builders Challenge, but it was actually yesterday. So the challenge ended yesterday on May 22nd by my calculations, and I am coming on today to congratulate you for finishing. Hey, Marshall, I am coming on here to congratulate you for finishing. I don't have anything deep to say. I don't have anything, you know what I'm saying, other than congratulations. That is really what I wanted to come on here and say to you all. I know that a lot of people, I've got your emails, I've conversed with a few people. I know a lot of people have been feeling the pressure during this challenge, and unusually so, right? A lot of folks have been telling me that they want to quit. A lot of folks have been telling me, like, asking for encouragement and asking for prayer, and trust me, I get all of that. I felt the resistance too. I felt the pressure as well. But everyone who reached out to me, the thing that I told them is just, you just need to finish. You just need to finish. Like, if you didn't feel this resistance, if things weren't cropping up in a way that was unusual, I would doubt that you were doing the right thing and you were on the right track. And so the resistance does not mean that you're doing anything wrong. And I know that's easier said than done. Trust me. I know it sounds like, of course you're saying that, Brianna, right? Of course we're supposed to, feel this resistance. Yeah, of course, right? I know it's easier said than done, especially when you're in the middle of it, and especially when you're going through, and especially when you're fighting. Today, I told my mom, in a vein of transparency, because I have those moments too. Even though I come on here and I lead the challenge, and I come on here and I pour out, and I do all the things, I still had those moments of, I'm struggling. And, like Nikki said, like, I'm fighting for my salvation. Like, I literally found myself during some hard days, right? Trying to press through some very, very, very hard days. And I told my mom today, I said, as I reflect on the journey as I reflect on the time that, we've been in this challenge and the platform that God has given me and, all the things that I'm doing, it's not necessarily that the work is hard. It's that I don't know if the curses have broken yet. And you know what I'm saying, y'all? Like, there's a moment in your walk and in your journey with God when you're like, okay, I'm going to do this because you promised me this. And then you get in the middle and you can't really see. You can't really see is what is if the work you're doing is actually producing the results you want to see. And so I had that moment with my mom, like, I can't see it. I can't see it. And that makes the journey a little bit more difficult. That makes the climb, the energy that you're expending out, that makes it more difficult for you to do it because you can't see the progress. You know you're doing everything that you're supposed to be doing. You know that you're being obedient. You know that you're doing what God told you to do. You're upholding your part, right? But there's a moment when it starts to feel like God isn't upholding his part. Or there's a moment when he's completely shut the lights off and you can't see if the next step is the step of freedom or not. And that's what I was telling her, like, that is the most weary part of, progressing. That is the most weary part of the journey, when you cannot track the progress. You're far from where you started. You're actually too far to go back, but you don't know how close you are to the finish line. And it's the anxiety of not knowing that creates a lot of pressure, downward pressure on us emotionally. And so I gave her this analogy. I said, think about it like this. And I gave the school analogy, and then I gave a family analogy. The school analogy said is, think about it like this. When you go to college, you know that you have 4 years or 5 years, depending on your degree. You have 4 years, and if you do everything that you're supposed to do, if you go to class, if you study, if you pass the quizzes, if you pass the test, like if you do all these things, in 4 years, you're going to get this degree, because that's how long the degree program is, right? The school has already laid out the timeline for you. So not to really expect anything before 4 years' time, right? The issue is that when we follow God, you don't know the timeline. We say yes. We start on the journey. We start walking, we start working, we start doing the things, and 4 years has passed. A year has passed, and you're like, okay, is this the time? No, okay, cool. I only been at a year. Let me keep going. 2 years have passed. 3 years have passed. 4 years have passed, and you're still doing the things, but you don't know when graduation is. And it's agonizing to not know when you've reached the end of the journey of the thing you're trying to, you're hoping for. And she was like, okay, yeah, I feel that, I get that. And I said, well, let's think about it this way. Since I don't have children, my mom, there are 5 of us. I said, think of it like this. You raised 5 of us as a single parent. You worked hard, you sacrificed, you cried, you spit, you farted, you did all the things. Now, what if we all ended up in jail? And she was like, ooh. And I said, that's how you would feel. That's how you would kind of feel, right? Like, is what I'm doing for naught? Did I sacrifice for nothing? Did I hear God correctly? Am I doing the right thing? Am I not doing enough of the right thing? What's going on? What's the deal? And I told my mom, I said, I feel like, and this is me just having a real conversation with y'all as the leader of this, as a facilitator of this challenge, because I know a lot of people feel like this too. And I said, it's not that I don't believe God. I believe him. Absolutely, I believe him. 100%. But is the sacrifice worth it? Because I feel like God has been promising me stuff, but he hasn't upheld his end of the bargain yet. I've upheld my end of the bargain, right? I've been doing what he's told me to do. I've been pouring out. I've been having sleepless nights. I've been sacrificing. I've been praying. I've been fasting. But it doesn't seem like he's upholding his end of the bargain. And either he's lying to me or something else is wrong, right? And I remember also having a similar conversation with another friend. And I said, some of the stuff, what I'm starting to realize as I journey with God, and, you're not always going to see that next step, right? Especially in a lot of our lives, especially if you're in transition and God is doing something new, like you're not going to see the next step. You're just going to see the step in front of you, and that's it. And once you take that step, then that next step will illuminate. But I remember having a similar conversation today. And I said to my friend, I said, I think I don't know God like I think I know him. And by saying that, I said, we say God is a healer, but I've never been sick. So I can't say that I know him as a healer. So what I'm saying that he is rumor to me. What I'm repeating is rumor because I haven't experienced it. And so there's coming a moment in my faith with God when I'm like, I don't know you like that. Not like I don't know you, but I don't know you like that. Like I don't know you as healer because I've never needed you as healer. I don't know you as, I don't know. I know you as waymaker. I do know you as waymaker because when I moved to Vegas with $30-something in my pocket because that was a fight for me to get to Vegas. Let me tell y'all this story about Vegas and the warfare that I experienced trying to move from Alabama to Vegas. So y'all, I don't know if I've ever told y'all this story, but this is where God is leading me on this conversation. When I graduated with my PhD in 2018. So May 2018, I graduated with my PhD, and there is always this gap in graduate school between the time you graduate and the time you get a job, you start your job. So generally we start our jobs August 1, but we graduate in May. The issue when you graduate in May is that you have no more funding, which means you don't get paid anymore, which means you're in trouble if you don't secure a job for the summer or something of that nature. You're in trouble. Part of my negotiation with my job was that they would allow me to teach online during the summer, which would allow me to have funding to live off of until I transitioned to Vegas. All right, cool. It was all said and done. It was part of my offer letter. Perfect. Everything was supposed to go as planned. Well, it didn't. Come June, y'all know I lived in the South, so it was during hurricane season and all the things, and I was renting a home from someone, and I went home to Chicago. And I was there for a graduation. I come back and I noticed that a tree had fallen on the roof of the house that I was renting. The tree just didn't fall in a random place in the roof. The tree fell right on my bedroom, and it separated the structure of the house. The scary part of that is that where it separated was where my head would have been had I been there when the tree fell. So when I get back home, I see the debris from the separated structure right where my pillow is, right? So had I been asleep, y'all, it would have been really bad for me had that tree fallen when I was asleep and that stuff hit my head. It probably would have been really bad for me. The Lord saved me. So I get home, I notice that, okay, I can't really stay here because there's literally a hole in the roof and the structure is separate from the wall. And so I can't live here. So that meant that I had to tap into the renter's insurance and I had to go live in a hotel for the summer. The issue, okay, so everything's okay so far. They're repairing the house. Allegedly, they were going to be done by within a few weeks time. And I go live in this hotel. So I'm teaching online in the summer, right? I'm teaching online. This is part of the negotiation. But when it came time for me to get paid, I didn't get paid. So I had negotiated to teach 2 classes in the summer, which would have given me like maybe I think like $8,000 for the summer. And the first summer school, after it was over, I didn't get paid. So I'm living in a hotel. I don't have any income coming in. I'm living off of credit cards. And, I'm a little bit shook because the payment that I worked for did not come in. So this is a month in, right? I negotiate. I was supposed to teach 2 sessions. The next session happened. The same thing. I didn't get paid. And so I'm working for free at this point. I'm living on credit cards. No one could help me. No one had the finances to help me. Like my face was broken out. I was so stressed out because I'm living out of a suitcase. Mind you, I still have to transition to Las Vegas. I still have people, my car being shipped within a few weeks to Vegas. So that it was supposed to meet me there. I had already signed a lease in Vegas that I was responsible for, come August 1st when I was supposed to get there. You know what I'm saying? So I had already had this stuff in the works, but I'm still not getting paid. I'm living in a hotel for 2 months, roughly 2 months. And I don't have any money coming in. My credit cards are maxed out. But I knew that I was supposed to be in Vegas. And so I'm sitting in a moment where people are telling me, if I was you, I would not go. If I was you, I would stay here. Vanessa asked, what made me move to Vegas? My job, my career. So that's it. My career moved me to Vegas. That's why I got the job. And that's why I moved to Vegas. And people were saying, I wouldn't do that. That's crazy. This school did not uphold their end of the bargain, blah, blah, blah. And so the issue, it was a payroll issue. The issue, what we ended up finding out later, was that because they put my fall contract in first and then tried to put my summer contract in, the payment for some reason they could not figure out how to make the payment go through. So eventually they had to rescind my offer, rescind my fall contract to push my summer teaching contract through, and then put me back in the system for fall. But that was all on the back end. So people are saying, Brianna, I would not go. I wouldn't do this. You should just go do something else. And I was like, no, because when I came out to Vegas in January and I interviewed for the job, I kind of had this knowing that I was supposed to be here. Oh, y'all, hold up. Let me tell you what else happened before then. I was not my job's first choice. My job offered the job to somebody else. So I come out there, and I don't know if y'all know how academia works, but the way that it works is that you have a pool of applicants, and you may have maybe 100 applicants during the first round of interviews. From that first round of interviews, you need to narrow your applications down to maybe 10 to 15 people to do virtual interviews with. Once you narrow it down to the virtual interviews, you do 10 to 15 of them, and it's a committee of people. Then you need to narrow it down to 4 to 5 people to bring on campus. Your on-campus interview is 3 days long. The moment you step off the plane and one of the faculty members pick you up, you start interviewing. So you're on for 3 days straight. It's not an easy process. You literally you go to dinner, you tired, because I was coming from the South, right? And so I was 2 hours ahead of them. So I'm coming from the South, I'm tired. So you're having dinner with faculty. They're talking about their work. You're trying to get to know them, trying to be personable, all while you're tired. Then you probably I went back to the hotel, went to sleep. The next morning, I had a meeting with the dean. I had a meeting with the provost. I had to do a 30-minute job talk where I present my research in front of the entire English department. And then I had meetings with graduate students. I had meetings with other faculty members. You have full 3 days of interviews. You're interviewing with basically almost the whole university in a sense, because Once you've made it to the on-campus interview, they want to make sure that you're a good fit personally. Like they've already determined that you're smart enough, but they want to know, do you fit within the culture of the university? So you're performing, you're on. So I'm on the job market and I get an email and they tell you that they have made a job offer. What that means is that they've offered out of the 5 candidates they bring to campus, then they rank the candidates 1 through 5. They make an offer to the first candidate. If the first candidate has 2 weeks to decide if they're going to take the job. In that 2 weeks, a job candidate may be negotiating with their university that they're at if they have a job already. So they may have gone to this job interview just to get an offer letter to negotiate for a higher salary at their job. That's probably what the person did for me. I don't know. Anyway, so they made the job offer. So for 2 weeks, now I'm suspended in the unknown, right? I have to leave. I don't have anything set up in Alabama. I had a prophetic impression that I was going to end up in Vegas, but the reality didn't show that I was going to end up in Vegas because they had told me that they had already made a job offer to the first candidate. For 2 weeks, y'all, I am crying, spitting, and farting because you never know, right? I'm crying, spitting, and farting because I trusted God. I set my whole career up to be a professor. Like I've known since I was 2 that I wanted to be a teacher. And so for y'all to tell me, because it got down to the wire, if you don't get a job offer, you don't get a job. So it got down to the wire and they offered this job to somebody else. So now I'm sick because I'm like, what am I going to do? We have been trained in graduate school to get a job. If you don't get a job, you have to go do something else. And I don't know what else I'm going to do. I also should tell y'all that a job, for an academic job, the application is not like just filling out an application. No, you have to give a cover letter. You have to send a CV. You have to send a 30-page writing sample. You have to send teaching statements. You have to send diversity statements. Like your packet may end up being like 40 pages long, right? And so it's not like and every school wants something different. Okay, so I find out they offer it to somebody else. I'm devastated. At the same time, my friends who I'm on the job market with, they're getting their job. They're celebrating. They're excited. And I'm like, what's wrong? What? Like, what's wrong with me? Like, I had interviews at Cornell. I had interviews at top Ivies. And it came down to this one school that I thought you told me this is where I was going. And so I'm sad. On top of being sad, so I'm sad. This happens. I graduate 3 weeks before I graduate, my job comes back and says, hey, we want to offer you the job. So I wasn't the number 1 pick, but I was the number 2 pick. The reason why that is significant is because I've always been the number 2 pick. I've never been the first pick in my life, but I've always been the better pick, just not the first pick. Okay. So I'm like, all right, cool. They email me, time to talk. Let's talk about this. All right, cool. We talk. They give me the offer verbally. I'm like, okay, sounds good. At the time, I was about to give a talk at Spelman. And so I'm sitting in the parking lot, excited, about to go in, give this talk. And I'm excited. I'm texting everybody, yo, I just got an offer. This is going to be great. I'm super excited. Y'all, I'm finna tear up because this is a very tough part of the story. When I come out of the interview, my dad calls me. My dad at the time never called me late at night. My dad calls me like, it sounds something's wrong with him. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? And the day that I get the offer is the day I found out that one of my brothers died. So I go from being on this high moment to being incredibly low. One of my younger brothers, my dad's first son, has died, right? So it's the best of times and the worst of times at the same time. So my father is torn, super excited for his daughter, but super hurt that he's just lost a kid. So we push through that. This is 2 weeks. This is how how crunched it was. This was a week before I was supposed to defend my dissertation and 2 weeks before I was supposed to graduate. So I go in to defend the dissertation in grief. Like, I'm spiraling. I don't even know if y'all ask me how my defense went, I don't know, because it was the grace of God that pulled me through the defense. It was such his grace that as soon as the defense is over, I break down crying in the hallway of the university. Like, I had nothing left. Like, do y'all know how sometimes you just run on adrenaline? That's literally how it was. Like, I feel like God was defending that dissertation for me because I had nothing to give. So I break down crying. The next week, I slated to graduate. All right, cool. Sounds great. My academic career is over. I am excited. I have a job. Wonderful. We get out of graduation. This catches you back up to the tree falling on my house a month later, me living in a hotel for close to 3 months and having no money. So I booked the flight because at this point, I need to be in Vegas by August 1st. I booked the flight, which was $400. I booked a one-way flight. I don't know where I'm going to live when I get there. I don't know how I'm going to eat when I get there. All I know is that God told me I was supposed to be there. I get this job, but I don't know if I'm going to have the money to, one, get my car from the shipping people. Two, I don't know how I'm going to, if I'm going to be able to sign this lease the next morning, which I was scheduled to do. I am flying from the South to the West Coast with $30-something in my pocket, not knowing anything but that I'm supposed to be on the West Coast. This is warfare, because how in the world can an institution not know how to pay you? How in the world can you not figure out how to release money that I've already worked for, that we negotiated, that you rightfully owe me? So, y'all, my face was broken out. I was shook. Only a few people knew what I was going through, but they didn't know in a way to, oh, let me help you. No, I knew within myself that God didn't want anyone to bail me out. I had to make this faith move, right? And that was hard. That was my first hard encounter on faith, stepping on our faith, moving on faith without anything, without any assurance, just knowing that I'm supposed to be here. Okay. So I get there the day before, no money in my account, still $30-something. I'm like, man, this is, I don't even know. I don't know how I'm gonna eat. I don't know how I'm gonna do anything. I've been, and the thing that hurt me the most, y'all, was that I've been responsible. I was responsible. I did everything I was supposed to do, but still the warfare was coming at me. I'm living in a hotel. I lived in a hotel the last 2 months. I didn't have any money. My credit cards are maxed out. I only have $30-something left on a $10,000 limit credit card. I ain't got it. I don't know how I'm gonna eat the next day. I don't know how I'm gonna get my car, which has some of my valuables in it. I don't know how I'm gonna do anything. And then, y'all, let me back up a little bit to say, like, the house I was renting, it was a 2-bedroom house. So I left all of my furniture because I had found someone to, take over the lease for me. And there was a girl I worked with, not someone who I had a really, really close relationship with, but someone who was transitioning out of college. And, the landlords liked her. And I was like, hey, I know you don't have anything. I left my entire home to her. All of the furniture, bedroom stuff, kitchen stuff, like everything. All I came to Vegas with was like my books, my clothes, and my shoes. And all of that was packed in the car. And some of it I had shipped with FedEx, right? All the stuff that I wasn't going to wear anymore, I had someone I knew online on the internet. She followed me on Instagram. We had like an Instagram friendship, and I knew she was going through a hard time. I shipped all of the rest of the stuff to her to Canada. Didn't never met her. Just said, hey, I know we're the same size. I haven't worn this stuff. Majority of the stuff still had tags on it. Like, I'm paying it forward. Bam, it's all good. So I leave the house. I leave all of my possessions. I move with shoes, the rest of my shoes, the clothes, some of the clothes that was being FedExed, and my books. That's what I moved with. Okay. So I did everything right. And it hurt because I did everything right. Like, I wasn't irresponsible. I worked hard. I was underpaid, y'all. For 4 years, I made $13,000 a year. I made ends meet. I worked my butt off. You know what I'm saying? Like, it should have been an easy road for me, but it wasn't. It wasn't easy at all. And I couldn't figure out, like, why isn't this working out? Like, I know God gave me this impression that I was supposed to be here when I interviewed. They already have offered the job to someone else. I'm already living in a hotel for a long time. I don't have any money coming in, and I'm moving to Vegas and I don't have any money, $30-something. Okay. So the next day I go to sleep. I am shook. I'm scared. I am scared. I know God didn't give us a spirit of fear, but I was scared. I was afraid. What else? Who else would have done that? Moving with $30. So go to sleep. Next day I wake up. They released $2,500 out of the $8K. They released $2,500 in my account. And I guess it was supposed to come in installments. I don't know. They released $2,500, which was enough for me to sign the lease, right? Go to the leasing office, sign the lease, and get my car, pay the rest of the shipping fee. Y'all, so I'm talking on the phone with the guy trying to coordinate times to get my car. Y'all know this man don't have my car. This man has dropped my car off in the hotel valet of a casino. I paid for door-to-door service. I gave this man the timeline of when I was going to leave Alabama and when I was going to be in Vegas. This is what I paid for. Instead of dropping my car off, this driver dropped it off in the valet of a casino. And he still had the ticket with him. So the only way that I would be able to get my car is to prove that I owned it. Luckily, I had my title. Luckily, I had, the paperwork from the purchase, all the things. But if I did not, here's another level of warfare. Like, if I did not, I wouldn't have been able to get my car that I paid $900 to ship from Alabama to Vegas. Okay, so they released $2,500 of the money. I get to Vegas. I sign a lease. I get my car out of the valet, bring it back to my house. Like, it's a whole lot of stuff going on. And like days later, they released another installment of the money. But I'm telling y'all this story to tell y'all, like, I knew God as a way maker, because there was no way I could see my way out of that story. Like, I'm moving to Vegas, a place that an unknown land. I didn't know anyone here. I didn't know anyone in Vegas. I'm moving to an unknown land, an unknown territory with $30-something in my pocket, not knowing how I was going to survive, not because I was irresponsible, but because of spiritual warfare trying to prevent me from getting into the territory. And I dare to say, y'all, I wasn't even who I am today. That was 2018. I wasn't who I am today. But the enemy, the principalities, like, all of these things were conspiring against me to prevent me from coming into the territory. So I needed God to be Jehovah Jireh, right? So I know God as Jehovah Jireh. I don't know God as a healer, right? And so when I was talking to my friend today, I'm like, I feel disingenuous saying that, God, I know this about you, but I don't know this to be true, right? I can't say that you're this because I really don't know you as this. This is hearsay to me. And when you ask me to trust you in this way, we don't have that rapport with each other, right? We don't have that rapport. I don't know you as this. And you're telling me you're this, but I don't have the experience with you as this. It reminds me of when, when God tells Abraham to sacrifice his son, and he goes up this mountain to sacrifice his only son, right? And there is something that God is asking of me within the next coming months that would feel like me going up Mount Moriah. So I feel the heat on my back, and I feel the pressure of Abraham. But you know that moment when he says, "Stay your hand, do not sacrifice your son. Now I know that you fear me." As I'm thinking about this, now I know, and God all knowing, how could he not know? And it's like, in this experience that I'm having with you now, I know, right? So while God is all knowing, and while God is, does know the beginning from the end, there are those experiences that happen in time that he doesn't experience until they happen in time. And so when you have those experiences with God that happen in time, now he knows, and now you know, right? But there are moments when you don't know. And there's moments when you follow and you don't have the experience, and the war is within you. And so when I think of Abraham, and I think of everyone in life right now going through dark seasons, and, God having a new experience with them, right? Or you having a new experience with God, it's not easy. It's hard. It's hard. And I want y'all to know, like, I know that we be like, you're going from glory to glory. I want more. I want to go glory to glory. But glory to glory requires you to start at level 0 with God. So when you're going to the next level of glory, what was once your ceiling then becomes your floor. So you start over on another level. Yes, it's on another level, but you do start over at ground zero. And a lot of us, if we're honest, we don't want to start over at level 0. Even if it's on a different level, we don't want to go back down to the bottom. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? And that causes us to stagnate, and that causes us to waver, because no one wants to start over, or what feels like starting over. No one wants to feel that pressure. No one wants to feel that pain of not knowing again, because it's easy. Remember, I was talking about graduation. It's hard when you're a freshman. You don't know nothing about college. But then you go your sophomore, junior, senior year, you're like, all right, senior year, you're like, I got it. It's nothing. And then you graduate and you go somewhere else. Oh, let's start over. High school. You're freshman high school. You don't know nothing about high school. You're green. I was so green. Y'all went to private school for a majority of my life. I went to public school, 6th grade. And the kids, like, man, they was the neighborhood kids. And we weren't the same, because I was in private school my whole life. And so, then you go to 7th, 8th grade, I was in public school, but then you go to high school. And now you graduate 8th grade, you're excited. I have a sister who's about to graduate 8th grade next month. You're excited, but you don't know anything about the world of high school. So you're scared. Everyone looks bigger in high school. You know what I'm saying? Everything is forming. So you're a freshman, you're shook a little bit. But you graduated. So now you are on the next level, but now you're at the bottom. By your senior year, you like, it's cool, it's nothing, I'm good, I'm happy, yay, I'm about to graduate. You graduate, then you go to college, and you're on the bottom again. Being on the bottom is hard. Even though you're on the next level, being back at ground zero in life or with God is hard. And I know that to be true. I know so many people who are in that place, especially when a lot of people are in a place of transition right now. And transitioning will require you to let go of the seniority on the level that you're on and drop back down to a freshman, a novice. You know what I'm saying? A junior. No one likes that. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard. And I'm admitting this. It's hard. And but when you go from glory to glory, what I'm learning now, y'all, your obedience never gets easier. I know y'all hear me preach obedience. I know y'all hear me talk about obey God and this is important, and it is. But what I'm learning is that God's asks never get easier. They never get easier. He don't stop asking you for big things. He starts asking you for bigger things. He starts asking you for bigger things. The higher you go in him, it's like he wants more. It's like insatiable. You want more. You want more. You want more. And when I was talking to my friend, I was like, yo, like, God is asking me for a hard thing. The reason why it's so hard for me right now is because this is the last thing I had that I worked for. This is mine. This is like my money, not mine. I know I'm a good financial steward, but the way God be having me give out money, it's blows my mind. I don't live where I want to live. I've already surrendered that part of my life. I go where God tells me to go. I live where he tells me to live. I live within the means or the boundaries in which he tells me to live. But there is an ask that's on the table right now that I'm struggling with. I'm going to give it, but I'm struggling with it. And I said, relating it back to Abraham, this is the last thing I have for me. This is the last thing that's mine. I've given you everything else. But you're asking for something that's mine. And that's hard. And that's hard. And he's never going to stop asking you for hard things. And I'm like, yo, when are you going to be satisfied? When you going to be satisfied? When you going to stop asking me for things? You know what I'm saying? And me and my friend, we just laughed about it. But the truth is that when you go from glory to glory and when you start obeying God and you start going on this obedience thing, it does not get easier. In fact, I would venture to say it gets harder. It gets harder. And I don't know how we got here to this story that I'm telling, but we're here because I think that a lot of people are here according to the chat, right? I am talking to you, y'all, as I'm talking to you as a crucified woman. That's really how it's going to have to be, like a dead woman walking. Like you're literally, to follow God, going to have to be a dead woman walking. You know what I'm saying? Or a dead man walking. Like this is the walk. And I always tell people in personal conversations, I say, if we really look at Christianity, it's really hard to do. Following God, following Jesus, doing all those things, hard. The faith is not easy. So when people are like, oh, this is easy, this is nothing, I wonder if you're doing it correctly, because it's not easy. It's going to work for you eventually. It will work if you continue to work it, but it's not easy following God. It's not. It's hard. You have to give up everything to follow Christ. And that's in the word. Those are scriptures that we don't necessarily talk about, but it's true. You're going to give up everything to follow Christ. And that is something that you got to think about. And that is something that you have to consider. You can't, what I say is, like, you know how sometimes we worship, some worship songs I don't sing anymore. I don't sing that Ocean song. Lead me where my trust is. No, I don't sing Maverick City's Refiner. No, because when I sang that song in 2019, I Want to Be Tried by Fire, I was tried I've been tried for the whole last 3 years. I don't want to sing that song. I don't sing that song. I don't sing that Shekinah Glory Yes song. You know, my spirit says yes, my soul says yes. Say yes, and you lift your hand. No, I'm not saying that, because in the fine print of that yes is something that I ain't read and I didn't know I was agreeing to, and God gets you on a yes. So some things I just don't sing. Some things I just don't sing. But I'm very sober in my walk with God these days. And this next level of commitment that he's asking me for, I'm giving a sober yes. This is a sober season for me. And I think, y'all know what? And I think this is what the Holy Spirit is revealing to me now. The reason why this season is trying so many people is because you're sober minded in this season. This isn't just like a jump in season, jump out season. Oh, I tried, God. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think a lot of us are sober to the Lord. We're not moving on emotion. We're not moving on, just, what people say. We are really thinking about this stuff. And I think that's fair to do. I think that's important to do, right? We have to be sober minded. And when you're sober minded, you're going to have to make hard decisions. It's not bad though. It's just difficult. It's just hard. And I want to be honest with you. Let me look at what's going on in the chat real quick before I continue on. Luxury of Time says, that's the thing for me, having to push through when you just want to throw in the towel, but you can't. Throw in the towel is not an option. Yeah, like, sometimes I just want to know where the goalpost is. You know what I'm saying? Like, how close am I to the goal? Like, I'm too far. I can't throw in the towel because I put in too much work. But am I close to it? Like, am I close to finishing? Like, if you could just tell me if I'm a little close. I'm not even asking you to give me the play. Just tell me if I'm close. So I'll have some motivation to keep going. Vanessa says, wow, this is speaking to me so much right now. Oh, good. Nikki says, I did everything right. Ooh, child, that's it right there. It speaks about me. Yeah, when you do things right, it gets hard. Nikki said, it makes me cry when I hear you say, I am never the first choice. I'm the best choice, but I'm never the first choice. I feel that so deeply. It's true. I have never been the first choice ever in my life, but I've always, when I did become the choice, I've always been the best choice. And I can trace that through my whole life. You know what I'm saying? I can trace that through my whole life. And it's not something that's easy, because then it starts to play on your confidence, right? Like, why aren't I the first choice? What's wrong with me? Am I not doing anything correctly? And then, we got the hyper spiritual folks just be like, God is protecting you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to say, like, yeah, that's just been my reality. And I've always showed up. Like, even when I got into graduate school on conditional admittance. Conditional admittance. That means that for the first time in my life, I was on academic probation. I'd never been on academic probation, y'all. Like, I've always graduated school with honors. I graduated my master's with a 3.9. How did I end up on academic probation? Well, I didn't do well on the GRE. I ended up on academic probation. So that kind of played with me, right? But what ended up happening is I ended up being the highest performing graduate student when I graduated with my PhD. My dissertation went on to win 3 awards on the department level, the college level, and university wide. I wasn't a first choice. I got in on the conditional, which is the second batch. I know how conditional works because I've been on graduate committees, admittance committees. So I know how those tiers work. I was a second choice, but I ended up being one of the top graduate students. Same is true in my career. I was the second choice. But if you look at my academic record, since I've been at my university, on all of my evals, because we get evaluated every year, there's never a negative remark. There's always She's doing well. They have nothing to say about me, but she's doing great. Never, no advice, no anything. I was a second choice, but I am a great asset to the university. I've made my tenure case already. You know what I'm saying? If I was to go up for tenure, I could secure it right now. Second choice, still at the top. It's hard. Create Transform said, this is such an inspiring testimony. God was watching you and how you handled this, and hell came up against you because of the assignment of your life, and the Waymaker made a way. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I didn't know God as a Waymaker for real, like not intimately with me. No, I didn't know him like that. But now I know him like that. Even on this next level, I don't even say it was still like incredibly easy. But it's like, okay, I do have history with you. And y'all know that in the Old Testament, when the senior people used to walk with staffs, they used to mark in the staffs like moments with God. And so what they would teach the people coming after them, their grandchildren, they'll teach them their history with God. So in the same way, I'm talking to you and giving my testimony. In a way, I am modeling what some of the forefathers of the faith did when they marked the staff, and then they would tell their descendants the stories of the moments with God. So it's similar to what I'm doing here, like telling you, like, hey, this is a moment, a marker that I've had with God, right? King's Beach. Oh, hey, Josh, that's my brother. He says it hit hard every time you tell this because it's true. It is true. I had to walk through that transition hard. Man, it was hard. Story of Derica said, man, I need to hear this story. God is amazing. Oh, I love that. Nikki says, the vulnerability and honesty to say that I didn't know you as this or that. No, it's true. I am quick to tell God, I don't know you like that. Like, I can say all of the things about you, and my mind will register it, but it's not personal to me. It's not personal to me. You know what I'm saying? And so I've gotten to the point in my mind with God where I'm like, certain things aren't personal to me. And I ain't telling you I want you to put me in those positions so I can know you like that. I'm just admitting that I don't know you like that. I don't have that history. I don't have that mark. You know how when Abraham, I think it's Abraham, when he was gonna kill Isaac, I think he marked that place as Jehovah Jireh, right? He marked the place as Jehovah Jireh. That was a marking. That was an experience with God. There's certain markings that I do have. And then there's others that I just hear about that I want to believe. It's just like this. There are certain things that I am waiting for God to do in my life, certain things that I'm believing for. And you know, the scripture that says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony, or their testimony, our testimony, somebody's testimony. And I'm believing for a testimony, right? In a certain area of my life, I'm believing for a testimony. And it gets hard when you're believing. It gets really, really hard because you did it for all these people. You did it for all of these people, right? I hear their testimonies and I'm hearing it, and it is encouraging on the one hand, but will you do it for me? I know you can do it because the Bible even said it, or I know people who you've done it for. But will you do it for me? And if you do, when? This is me being totally honest with y'all. These are some of the thoughts, and these are some of the conversations that I have with people in my circle. Like, I believe God as this. This is what his word says. So in my mind, intellectually, this is what I believe. I also believe that he can do this because I've seen I've heard these testimonies. They're powerful testimonies. And maybe I can hold on to these testimonies. But because I've never seen this in my lineage, I wonder if he would do it for us. And it's easy to say, of course he will. Of course he will. He will. This is what his word says will. But what if something is holding it up that prevents it? Evil altars, disobedience from people, other, people in the lineage. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it becomes this faith journey. It becomes this learning journey. So I don't go up to God like I know him, because I don't. I know him in the aspect, and he's too vast for us to know him, right? And sometimes we do approach God like, I know who he is. No, you don't, because when he show you another side of him, you're like, I didn't know. I didn't know that. I didn't know that about you. And apparently, I ain't know that about myself. But there are moments and there are earmarkers with God, like, I don't trust you because I don't know you like this. I know you as this. I know you as that. I know you as this, but that I don't know you as that. Never seen it. You're asking me to trust you here. You know my history in the earth with this situation. It's touchy. I don't know. I don't know. And it's in those moments where the altar is built in our relationship. It's in those moments. Like, I think I'm in the middle of an altar experience right now with him in my life, where I built this monument and I built this altar for us to convene here, because we can't go over this moment. Y'all know what I'm saying? Have y'all ever tried to move over an issue, go around the elephant that's in the room, act like it's not there? Now, there's a moment in your relationship and in your walk with God where you can't move past it. We have to deal with this here, because if we don't deal with this here, this will affect what comes after. So now we have to deal with this here. Build an altar. Sacrifice. Let me come convene with you. That's the in-between place. Manny's World said, this is so on point. I never could put into words what I was feeling until you just explained this. Yes, so happy that I can explain it. Create Transform says, where did we go? Create Transform said, this is, oh wait, no, I read that. Create Transform says, I recall how God healed you and your mom's relationship. Healing come in personal ways. You may know the healer breed, glad not through sickness. Yes. Okay. So when you put it in that perspective, yes, I know God as a healer of relationships. Yes, but not as a healer of the sick. Because I've never been sick in a way that I needed healing. That's not true. I used to have really bad asthma. They claim I grew out of it. That was probably a healing. So I recant that. I don't remember the really bad asthma because I had it as a kid. My mother will remember that experience more than I do. I do remember that there were moments when I was in the hospital. And I remember there were moments when I would have the breathing thing on my face. And I remember certain like bits and pieces, but I don't remember the experience. And so I take that back. I do know, thank you. See, I have to bring these testimonies back. Thank you for bringing this to my remembrance. I do know God as a healer, just not as an adult where I can remember a time where I was suffering physically and he healed my body. But he did heal my body because I had really bad asthma. And so did my brother. My brother had but Josh, who's on here, had really bad asthma too. And I don't think he has asthma anymore. Josh, is you still on here? Do you still have asthma? Nikki says that Refiner song was just one, and I was telling the hubby the same thing. I'm not singing this. I'm not singing that song ever. Don't even, if it plays, if Refiner plays, I change the station. Janae says it is encouraging to hear other people's testimony, but then you're like, okay, when is it my turn? When will I get to see it happen? Yeah. Yes, Janae, I totally 100%. I'm with you right there. When would I get a testimony? Because this test has been a long time. You know what I'm saying? Like, how long is the test? Because even when you're in school, you got a certain time on the test. You know how long your test is. I got this amount of time to take this test. With God, you don't know. You don't know. We can come into the same room and we can take the same test, and you can finish your test and pass, and I'm still in there taking a test. And I'm looking at you like, we started together. How did she finish her test before me? We came in this room together, and that's hard. That's hard to see. You know what's coming to mind, y'all? Y'all know when Paul and them was shipwrecked, and Paul and them was shipwrecked, right? And the scripture says some people arrived on boards. Where is the scripture, y'all? Paul shipwrecked. Can y'all help me find where that scripture is? 2 Corinthians? No. Is it 2 Corinthians? Where is Paul shipwrecked? As we're talking, as y'all help me find that scripture, my brother, he said, how do you continue to sacrifice even when one of the biggest things you want seems so far away? How do you stay submitted? Inquiring minds want to know. How do you continue to sacrifice? With tears in my eyes. I sacrifice in tears. I do. I sacrifice. Man, it is not an act of my own will. Look, I'm tearing up because I'm in the middle of a sacrifice right now. But it's not necessarily an act of my own will because my will don't want to sacrifice. I don't want to sacrifice at all. You know what I'm saying? None of us do. How do you continue to sacrifice? Is to completely give up your will. And I don't know how I do it. It's just this thing of, I don't have anywhere else to go. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't, you know how, okay. Y'all know how people be like, when you out there in the dating world, I ain't got to deal with this. I got options. I got people on. If you don't want to talk to me, I have another one in tomorrow type situation, like to the left type situation, right? I got options. I've come up to a point in my life where I don't have options. So plan A is always plan A. Now I could continue and do what I want to do, but I don't put that option on the table. So I'm just like, I don't have any more options. If this is the road, this is the road. I'm scared. I'm shaking in my boots. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I'm going to look crazy to people. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to look crazy to myself, but I don't have options because the option to disobey is not an option for me. Even though the obedience option is hard. The obedience option is hard. But I don't have a plan B. It's always been plan A. Even down to the school. My master's program, I applied to one school and got in. I only had plan A. My PhD program, it came down to 2 schools, and God kind of helped me navigate that decision because I had signed to the University of Texas, San Antonio. But then I really did want to work with my mentor who had just come out of retirement at Chapel Hill, and she was at Alabama. And I really did want to work with her because I heard her name as a freshman. And I was like, man, it would be so cool to work with her. So it was 6 years before I knew she was out of retirement. And when I heard that she had come out of retirement, I had already signed with UTSA. I was already down there for the campus visit. I had committed to UTSA. Even though I didn't necessarily want to live in San Antonio, I had committed. And the morning after I had signed with UTSA, the chair of the English department called and said, hey, Brianna, I hope you didn't do anything crazy. Because they had gotten to, that conditional admittance. I wasn't really feeling it. I was kind of a little bit like, how dare y'all conditionally admit me? I've been a top scholar. Like, I'm good. My record speaks for itself. Like, I'm a star. But I wasn't even feeling it. I was kind of puffed up with pride. I ain't gonna lie. So I went and signed with UTSA, even though I didn't want to sign there. So the department chair calls me like, hey, I hope you ain't doing nothing crazy. I'm like what? He's like, oh, it's signed with another school. And I'm like, actually, I just signed with UTSA. So he's like, all right, cool. Let me call you back. Y'all, He didn't call me back. My mentor, the person who I wanted to work with, called me personally. Okay. She calls me personally. And, she's just the type of person that you don't really say no to. She kind of reminds me of my mother in a lot of ways. And I had gone on to affectionately refer to her as my Alabama mother. She really took great care of me when I was in Alabama. And she calls me. Now, if she calls you, she believes in you. And she calls me and she's having a conversation with me, telling me that, hey, if you come down, I will work with you. I will have time, blah, blah, like just laid it on thick. Like, if we needed the icing on the cake, her calling me personally was the icing on the cake. And I told her, the only reason I'm coming to Alabama is to work with you. That's it. I only wanted to work with you. And she worked, and still to this day, she mentors me from a distance. She doesn't have children, even though she don't want to admit that I'm like her Alabama daughter. I am. But she worked with me, and I went there and I worked with her. And that was it. And so when it came down to my jobs, y'all, let me tell y'all, I applied for 30 jobs. That was a stressful time in my life. I applied for 30 jobs. I got 5 on campus. I had 5 virtual interviews and 2 on-campus interviews. It was between the university I'm at now and Auburn. I did not want to go to Montgomery for nothing in the world. And I told people that I was going to become a flight attendant if I had to go live in Montgomery, Alabama, because it was already nothing in Tuscaloosa. Now I'm about to go to Montgomery, Alabama. No. Anyway, so I didn't get the Montgomery, Alabama job. I got the job in Vegas, and it was fine. But God literally narrowed the options at that point. He narrowed it, like, this is the decision that's ahead of you. So in those moments of schooling, I learned that narrow is the way. Ooh, that's hard. That's the word. Narrow is the way. God literally narrowed my decisions, refined my decisions so much that it's not hard for me to know the will. It's not hard for me to discern the will. Now, when I was first trying to go to college and an undergrad, I got into every school that I applied to. And I'm not telling y'all that this is what you're supposed to do, but I was so indecisive, y'all, that I did any, mini, miny, mo. Don't ask me how. Don't ask me nothing else. Just let me tell y'all that I did any, mini, miny, mo. And I was so sad when I got down to the school that I went to only discover that it was a former slave plantation. I was indecisive. But even now, what also is coming to mind, and if my mom is still on here, she can advocate for this. Even when I was graduating 8th grade, I applied to high school. I don't remember if I got into the high schools, but what I remember, my mom calling me one day, because I had a little cell phone, and she said, you got into Hyde Park's IB program. I didn't know anything about the International Baccalaureate program. I just knew, like, it was prestigious. So you had regular, you had honors, you had AP, and then you had IB. So we the smart kids, we in school all day. Everybody else get out at 2:30, I'm in school to 4 type situation. So I remember my mom saying, you got into Hyde Park's IB program. And I remember knowing that I was supposed to go to Hyde Park for the IB program. It wasn't necessarily that I knew that was God leading me to that school. It was just this deep down knowing that this is something that I was supposed to do. I wasn't even saved for real. I wasn't. Not in high school. Absolutely not. No. I dated thugs. I know my mom is glad I've been delivered. And no. But I just had this knowing. And so God had over time been narrowing my decision making. And so now we get to the university I'm at now. I know I'm supposed to be there. Okay, cool. And now there is a decision before me where the path is clear. Right? It ain't something that I necessarily want to do, but it is this knowing that this is the way. And if you decide not to go this way, you're in disobedience. So when you ask, how do you continue to sacrifice? You're going to have to lay your will down. And it doesn't get easier, but it becomes second nature to you the more you do it. Just like, yeah, it don't get easier, but it becomes second nature. And it says, even one of the biggest things you want to sing so far away, I definitely know how it feels to have something seem so far away. I do. I was just telling my mother today that I wouldn't mind staying on certain journeys, or I wouldn't mind doing certain things if I knew that the curses were broken already or close to breaking. It's not that I don't want them to, it's not that, I don't want to get to the end. I just want to know, am I almost there? You know what I'm saying? And it's that not knowing that you're almost there that's hard. It's that not knowing. And so I hope I've given y'all enough time to put in the chat where the scripture is. Yeah. Oh, Acts 27. Okay. Yes, I just want to know. So how do you stay submitted? You bring your will under the mission. You become sub to the mission. That's what submission is. Your will, your desires become second to the mission, and the mission is the kingdom mission. That's hard. And I know and you as my brother, I know you probably be looking up, you get an inside view on a lot of stuff, but it's not easy. I cry, I spit, I fart, I beg God, get somebody else to do it. Please let me have something for myself. Like I do a lot of these things, but I know that I have to become sub to the mission, and that we serve at the pleasure of the King. And if you don't do it, someone else will do it. And all the things that I preach to you in private, I do practice in my own life. And it's not hard. I mean, it's not easy. It ain't. It's hard every day. It's hard every day. Okay. So my mom says, yes, you did. You were hospitalized as an infant. So I had really bad asthma. That's what she was referring to. I had really bad asthma and I was hospitalized as an infant. My brother said, because I asked him, did he have asthma? He said, asthma left. I didn't notice it. And when I was complaining, God asked me, have you noticed I healed you of asthma? And that was 3 years ago. Well, there you go. There you go. Ain't no more asthma. He had really bad asthma. I do remember that. He had awful asthma. Okay. I mean, like terrifying asthma. Create Transform says, so true. And the same test will show up until we pass it. Listening to you has helped me move past. So repeating tests in my life. Thanks, Bree. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, let's go to Acts. Go to the book of Acts. Let's go to the book of Acts. Because there's a passage in here. What y'all say, Acts 27? There's a passage in here that I want to talk about that Janae's comment brought it up. I'm looking for when the ship falls apart. Let me go to the NIV version. I'm looking for when the ship falls apart. Can y'all give me the exact verse, y'all know? Jesus, it's so long. Is it 42? I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying to, come on, y'all. Let's study this out together. There's a part that, let's sit in a KJV, where it talks about how some people got there. Okay, there we go. Let's look at Acts 27, verse 42. So in this whole chapter, they're about to be shipwrecked. 42, y'all. They're shipwrecked and the ship is falling apart, all of the storm. You can read this whole chapter for yourself. So we're going to start at verse 42 and read through verse 44, and I'm reading in the KJV. And it says, and the soldiers' council. Okay. And the soldiers' counsel was to kill the prisoners, lest any of them should swim out and escape. But the centurion, willing to save Paul, kept them from their purpose, and commanded that they which could swim should cast themselves first into the sea and get to land. And the rest, some on boards and some on broken pieces of the ship. And it came to pass that the Lord escaped all. And it came to pass that they escaped all safe to land. 28 through 5. You said verse 5, Nikki? Okay, let's continue on to chapter 28. And when they were escaped, then they knew that the island was called Malta. And the barbarous people showed us no little kindness, for they kindled a fire and received us everyone because of the present rain and because of the cold. And when Paul had gathered a bundle of sticks and laid them on the fire, there came a viper out of the heat and fastened on his hand. And when the barbarians saw the venomous beast. Okay, so go back to verse 27. That's where I wanted to read. That everyone didn't get there. Everyone who started out on the ship got there at different times, got to the land at different times and by different means, right? So some people got there on boards. But some people swam. Some people got there on boards, and some people got there on broken pieces of the ship. But all of them started out together, but they didn't all get to the destination in the same way, even though they started off together. And I think the reason that this came up to my remembrance is because sometimes we can start off on the same ship with everybody, and some people will end up getting there swimming. They end up getting there faster. Then there are the other people who are second in the race or second trying to get to land. They will get there on boards. Boards are more sturdy than the people who are coming in third, right? Boards are more sturdier. They can float easier. But then there are the other people who have to watch the people who can swim, who can get there first, who have to watch the people on boards who can get there second quicker than them. These people who get there barely on pieces of a ship, on pieces of the ship. We don't even know what type of pieces, how big the pieces are. We just know that they get there on pieces. They don't get there in the same strength that the people who can swim get there on land. They don't get there with the same assistance. They don't get there with the same assistance as the people on the boards. Some people get to the land on pieces. And I can imagine how hard it is to watch people who can swim get there first, how hard it is to watch people on the boards coast there faster than you, and you're on the piece. You're trying to get to the land on the pieces of the ship. And that's hard to see everyone get to the land and you are at the mercy of the pieces. Not even whole pieces, it says broken pieces. That's what this scripture says. You're getting there in fragments, broken pieces. And so when Janae said, okay, when is it my turn? When will I get to see it happen? That's kind of the agonizing thing of seeing people or hearing people's testimony, because there are two dimensions or the backside of testimony, right? There's the moment where you're excited that this thing is happening. You praise you're happy for the person. And then there's this moment when it dies down and you're like, But when is it going to happen for me? When is it going to happen for me? Like, I'm happy for them. But when is it my turn to tell my testimony? Right? And so when she said that, this scripture came up. Some got to swim and they got there in their strength. Some got to the land. Yeah. Some got to the land on boards. And then the last group got there on broken pieces of the ship. And I can imagine that trying to swim and hold on to a piece exerts more energy. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you can swim, you know, it's all within you. You can swim. You got it. You're confident. You get there on the board, you can coast. You can let the board do the work for you. But when you get there on pieces, you exert more strength because you're trying to hold on to the piece, hoping that it can pull you, and you're still trying to do your part. That's exhausting. It's exhausting. And that's the sobering part of that journey. They all were shipwrecked. They all got to the shore in different ways. But I can imagine how it felt to be the people getting there on pieces. I can imagine that. I can imagine it. Manny's World said, I can imagine how it's been with us on this challenge. We all started at the same time, ended at the same time, but we all got there on different levels of strength. Yes. We all got to today on different levels of strength. We did. We did. We did. Some of us feel amazing. Some of us are, as Nikki said, fighting for our salvation. Some of us feel defeated. But we got there. We got there. And that is what I want you to remember out of this whole story, out of this whole life. You got there. It may not have been in the way that you wanted to. You may have wished that you had more help. And you may have wished that, you know, things were different. But you got there. You got there. And you should congratulate yourself for getting there, for finishing. Even if it wasn't in the way that you initially set out to. Because any work requires, like, you're going to have more energy in the beginning when you start something than in the middle, than in the end. And we've been at this thing for 52 days. That's a long time, y'all. Next month is literally halftime. We've been at this thing for a long time. And we've been working. And there are moments where you were probably getting to the finish line swimming. You was good. There was probably moments where you were getting there to the finish line on boards. There was moments when you were progressing on your boards, and then there was moments when you were just had pieces. Janae says, can you imagine still being on the water while others were crawling on the sand? Ooh, child, that was an amazing work. Yeah. Watching, and that's how, and your comment brought me to that point. You're still in this race, in this test, because you don't have the testimony because the test isn't over. And you're watching everyone who started out in the season with you get to the end, get to the promise. They got it. They got to the promise. Some of them struggled and they got there, but you still in the water trying to hold on to the piece of the ship. The anchor, God, who, you know, you're holding on to God and you're still trying to paddle. You're still trying to get there. But you see everybody on land resting, everybody on land celebrating. And you like, when am I going to get to the land? We all start at the same time. When am I going to get to the land? When am I going to get my rest? Josh says, as I was chatting with someone, I said that in this life, we have to fight for every inch that we receive, especially as an adult. Then I said, you fight for everything, even a peace of mind. My God, you do. You do. You do fight. You do fight. I think that certain levels require different tools to fight. I think that is kind of the disadvantage of going to a new level, is that you don't know the landscape on the new level. And so, you don't know the landscape, right? And so now you're just trying to fight with the tools you had on the first level, and they ain't working. And you like, these tools, are they dull? Let me sharpen them up, let me try, because they worked on the last level. And it's like, nah. And now you have to learn the layout of the new level. And that takes you some time, because now you got to update your strategy in your fight. Now the fight looks different. Now you're not going to the fight is coming to you. You do. You gotta, I wish there were moments when we didn't have to fight. And sometimes, y'all, what I've learned through this challenge is sometimes my fight is just standing. That's my fight. Sometimes my fight is just resisting, submit to God, and resist the devil, and he will flee. And he don't flee easily from me, but sometimes my strategy, more times than not, has been to just continue doing what I was doing, pressing through the pain, pressing through the moments where I don't feel like I can pray. Like I feel like, my heart has been so broken and disappointed that I don't have the words to articulate. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you just resist, submit to God, and resist the devil, resist whatever he's telling you. That has been my strategy a lot. That has been my strategy a lot. Obedience has been my strategy, even with tears in my eyes, even when I didn't want to do it. That has been my strategy more times than not. Let's see. I'm gonna need you to get out of my prayer closet. It's so funny. It's so funny. Manny's World of Creation says, so true. I was feeling very disappointed and defeated. I'm trying to remind myself that I've still made a ton of progress. I did it. I stayed committed for 52 days. There's still work to do though. Yeah. But I think that, of course there is work to do, but don't discredit the work you've already done. Like with the but there's still work to do. Like you made progress, and rest in that. I made progress. I made way more progress than I would have. Full stop, period. No but, no conjunction. You know what I'm saying? Just, I made full progress, and I'm proud of myself. And I'm going to rest and then take a moment to enjoy the moment that that I am in. Because sometimes when we think about the work that we still got to do, it becomes overwhelming. Trust me, I live in a future a whole lot. That gets me in trouble a whole lot. Living in the future, living so advanced in the future, gets me in a lot of trouble. And so there are moments when I have to pull myself back and say, even though you didn't do it in the way that in your mind, in your imagination, because, when we go into our imagination, we're kind of sometimes living in the realm of fantasy. Even though you didn't do it the way that you envisioned, you still did it. You still got the work done. Full stop. You don't have to do anything else right now. For a doer, that's a little bit difficult, but it's something that I'm practicing. And so, yes, you make tons of progress. Congratulations. Stay there. Just stay there. Just stay there. Don't go into the rest that you have to do. Don't go into the rest of the narrative. Just stay there. That's it. But y'all, I started this off saying congratulations. I know I said we're gonna be on here long, but we've been on here for an hour and a half. It's just the way that God, took us tonight. But I don't have anything else for y'all. I want to tell you that I am so proud of each of you for finishing. I'm so proud of each of you, and you should be proud of you too. Nikki says, I'm so grateful for you, your testimony, your transparency. I'm so tired of fighting and so ready to give up, but I really appreciate you for sharing your vulnerability. I totally get it, Nikki. I totally get it. She says, a lot of times we see people like you and think they don't struggle or go through things, but it's refreshing to hear your testimony. So thank you. You're welcome. Like, y'all, I go through a lot of stuff. I go through a lot, and I do know that sometimes leaders and things like that, we show you the highlight reel and like, yo, they must got it together. I must be slacking in my faith, blah, blah, blah. But that's not true. Leaders go through a whole lot. And I don't think I care so much about my reputation as a lot of people do. And so I'm willing to show you the journey. Just like when I show you all people the journey of me getting out of debt and getting my money together on my Instagram, which is where I primarily chronicle the stuff. I show people the journey. This is what I'm doing. This is what I did. I was shook. I'm scared. You know what I'm saying? When I was on it, like I was doing it. And being vulnerable is difficult because you don't want, I guess sometimes you don't want people to look at you differently or whatever, but I feel like I try to show people the truth. The life that I come out here and talk to y'all about is really the life I live in private. It's so funny. I'm thinking about my brother's on here, and sometimes when he calls me, he'll be like, I don't know why I called you. I know what you was going to say. And I'm like, you know what you're going to get with me. Like, this is who I am. And, I don't have a problem sharing my private defeats or my private things like that. Like, ain't nothing too private I ain't gonna share. But the things that I know like is common, yeah. You're trying to submit to God, yeah, it's gonna be hard. You ain't gonna want to do it. And the thing with following God that I'm becoming more and more aware of is that God will promise you things to entice you to continue on. You're going to do your part. You're going to do all the things you do. And eventually he's going to give you what he says. But it's that eventually part that trips us up. Because you told me you was going to do this and I did all these things, but you haven't done what you said yet. And now I'm struggling, which is why he never gives us like a date or anything like that. Because y'all know the scripture, his time, we know his timeline, whatever. Y'all know what I'm talking about. He don't calculate time in the way that we calculate it because he's out of time. But it's agonizing for people who are bound in time. And I think even more the struggle, even if I'm thinking about it as existentially or metaphysically, things like that, like we are timeless spirits trapped in time in bodies. So when we try to ascend, our bodies and time trap us to time and space. And so we're trying to ascend because naturally our spirits are wired to ascend, to come up, but the body, the shell, and the time that we're in caps us every time. So we keep hitting a wall, right? We keep hitting a wall. And it's hard because our spirit is wired for ascension. But we're trapped. And it is the time that starts to speak to us that gets us to struggle, because time does have a voice and time does taunt people. Which is why sometimes people get ahead of God and they just try to snatch things out of God's hands because it's the time that's talking. Time is talking. It talks to each of us in different ways. So you have time talking, you have your spirit trying to ascend to the heights that God said is possible to you, but you also have your body being trapped by time and space. You're always in attention. You have a timeless God talking to you, telling you to ascend, but you're also trapped in time and space. Your body is. Your spirit isn't, your body is. Because when you pray, when you commune with God, you are ascending spiritually. You know what I'm saying? So a part of you is free, but a part of you is bound. And it's this contention, it's this consistent tension between you and time. Because a lot of us feel like we're rushing against a clock, and we are. We are. We don't have eternity here in earth. So we know that there's a time limit on our grace. You know, there's a time limit in your time in the earth. There's a time limit on what God tells you to do. Like that is true. We are rushing against clocks. But I think where the issue comes in is when we allow time to speak louder than God. And when we allow time to speak louder than God, that is when we start to fall into the realm of disobedience or error. You know what I'm saying? It's hard because a part of us is free. A part of us is timeless. Our bodies are not. So you have timeless people trapped inside of time, inside of caged bodies, which feel like cages sometimes when we know we're supposed to be greater. And we're rushing against this finish line to get to destiny, but we don't know. We don't know. What is it that we don't know? We don't know how soon we will get there, but we're rushing to it. So I think we always negotiate tensions. And if we're honest, we always negotiate tensions of being timeless and bound by time. But God is not. God is not. He is not. Okay, so let's see. Manny's World said, thank you so much. I needed to hear your testimony. You're welcome. Talaya said, this is so good. Yay. Sorry, Derica say, I'm so proud of all of us. I've struggled with finishing things for so long. This is the first thing I've actually finished, and it was worth it. Congratulations. I'm so proud of you. So happy for you. Talaya says, thank you for your obedience, Brianna. Your teachings have helped me tremendously. This challenge was right on time for me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate y'all. I do not take your time, your effort, your attention for granted. I don't. I'm still shocked that people actually listen to me. And people actually show up and, you know what I'm saying, rock out with me. I'm still shocked about it. So thank you. Thank you so much, because I don't think I've arrived. I think that I still have so much to learn, so much growth. And, you know, I just think that God is like leading as he leads you to me, he leads me to him. And so as long as I'm submitted, I feel like he'll allow me to have this platform to talk to y'all and to kiki and to encourage you and all the things. And so thank you. I'm so grateful that my obedience is not in vain, because sometimes it can feel like, dang, I'm obeying for what? Sometimes it can feel like, y'all, and I'm just gonna be honest. Sometimes, and I've said this, and let me know if y'all have said this internally or thought like this before. Sometimes I have said, it feels like my life benefits everyone but me. Have y'all ever felt this way? I've said that. Sometimes it feels like my life benefits everyone but me. Let me know in the chat if y'all have ever felt that or said that. Because I have recently. Okay. I've said that recently. Miriam says, thank you. I'm still finishing up my project, but we'll be done by the 30th. This is help. Congratulations, girl, in advance. Vanessa said, yes. Nikki said, yes, my entire life, Manny's creation. Yep. See, y'all not alone. I say the same thing. Y'all. And that's hard. Because I'm like, when my life won't benefit me? When I'm going to get something I want? Okay? Because I'm doing everything, God, you told me to do, and it's benefiting people. It ain't benefiting me at all. this ain't even a benefit I was looking for. Appreciate you, appreciate what you're saying, but I'm getting no benefit here. And it's so funny because I may say that with my mouth, but I'm still committed to what he told me to do. I don't know. Like, I'm just still going to say, like, I had to be honest. Like, I don't feel like this math and is not benefiting. This is the life you wanted for me. There it is. This is the life you wanted for me, not the life I wanted for myself. My mom always tells testimony. I think she's told it publicly before. I don't think I'm going to tell on her by saying this. But she used to tell us testimony when she used to say, I hate my life. I hate my life. I hate my life. And she says one day she heard God say, is this the life I chose for you? And she was like, oh, because apparently she was hating her life, but it wasn't the life God chose for her. So she had gotten off somewhere, or you know what I'm saying? The decision she may have made led her to live the life that, you know, God may not have wanted her to live. And so when she tells that story, because she tells it to encourage me, and when I don't feel like being encouraged, I say, but this is the life he chose for me. And I say, that's what I say, but no, this is the life he chose for me. It's not the life I want. This is the life he chose. It doesn't feel good. I don't want this life. And eventually, though, what I'm starting to sense is that as you continue to obey, as you continue to do what he tells you to do, it then becomes the life you want, because it is the life that you know, right? And so, what is the scripture? There's a vague scripture that's coming to my mind. Now it just left, but there's a scripture that kind of hints at what I just said. But you do become this life. As you obey, you become who he wants you to become. May not be what you wanted, but it becomes your life, and that's all you know. So then you become his idea of you. Before you were in the womb, he knew you, he destined you, he predestined you. Y'all know the scripture. So every yes you give God gives you gets you one step closer to the life he wants for you. Now, so when me and my brother talk about this, he like, so where does free will come in? And I'm like, well, free will comes in, you can say no. It's not advantageous of you to say no, but you can't say no. And he's like, man, that's not fair. And I'm like, I know. It is kind of not fair though, when you think about it, but you can't opt out. You can't say no, but it won't be good for you to say no, because if he's the author and the finisher of your faith, that means he's already decided about you, right? He's already decided something about you. The issue is that when we get in the time and we start living, our lives, we're kind of like, well, I kind of want to do this. And he's kind of like, let me refine your taste. Let me get that out your mouth. Let me do this, because you need to become like the idea I had of you before I clocked you into time. So our whole life, we're trying to get back to that idea of who he had for us. And it's hard, because we have desires, we have wills, we have wants, we have hurts, we have all of these things. Yeah. And you become his idea of you. The more you surrender, the more you give him your yes, the more you keep progressing, you eventually, you every step become his idea of you. Let me see, Vanessa, if that's the scripture. Let's see, Deuteronomy 28:2, you say? Let's see. Deuteronomy 28:2. Let's see, it says, and all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. I don't know if this was it, but this is a good scripture though. This is a good scripture. Yeah, his will just, you know, his will just overtakes you. Um, it ain't cute though, because you got to sacrifice your human will, your human wants, your time, all this stuff, all the things yeah, it ain't cute. I'll just say that. And so I just want everyone to know that I'm proud of you. I'm proud of me too, for if I know we all have to make hard decisions. This is what I want y'all to remember, because sometimes we're our worst critics. I am my worst critic. I am the hardest on myself. And I used to struggle so greatly with my humanity. I don't know what it was that I wanted to be perfect, or I wanted to be a perfect idea of something or whatever, but I used to struggle with the human aspects of myself, like struggle so greatly. Like I used to feel like I should not make certain mistakes. I don't know where that came from. I don't know what that is, but I used to struggle there. And then there was a moment where I had to come to myself and say, think of everything you've done. You should be proud of yourself for choosing you. You should be proud of yourself for trying. You should be, even if you didn't succeed, you should be proud of yourself because some people didn't do it. You should be proud of yourself. Like, go back and look at your resume, Brianna. Go back and look at all the things you've overcome. I should have been a statistic, y'all. I came from a single parent, a teenage mother's home, a single parent home on the south side of Chicago, in the inner city. I've seen somebody get gang members break into our house, to beat up somebody when I was a kid. I've been raised in the hood. I should have been a statistic. I've seen a lot of stuff growing up in Chicago. I've gotten jumped for being cute. So much. My brother told his testimony when he gave a speech at the Salvation Army recently. He told that he had a gun pointed to his face. Like, when y'all see me, I know y'all may think sometimes that I come from like the suburbs. I don't. This is by grace, the grace of God, and me trying to be obedient, and my mother's prayers, right? Because I didn't have a praying grandmother, but I did have a praying mother, right? This, who y'all see before you right now, is by God's grace. Not only by God's grace, because he also graced me to make hard decisions, but it's also by this knowing that I was destined for greatness. And my mother used to say that, I remember her saying that to me as a kid, you are destined for greatness, not even knowing what that meant. And she probably didn't even know she was speaking prophetically over my life, but she used to tell me that you are destined for greatness. And every cell within my body knows that I am destined for greatness. And every cell in your body too has to know, whether you see it or not, that you are destined for greatness. You're not destined to live low. You're not destined to struggle for the rest of your life. You're not destined to rob Peter to pay Paul. You're not destined you're not destined for any of the clues that culture is feeding you. You're not destined for those things. You're destined for greatness. And by God's grace and by your decision making, you've beat so many odds. First and foremost, you were born. So you had to beat all the spermatozoa, whatever it is, all the sperm that came out of your father's body, and you rushed to the edge. You beat the odds in the womb. Before you came out the womb, you beat the odds. You beat the odds when you were born healthy. You beat the odds when you progressed through school. You beat the odds when you defied the statistics. You beat the odds when you decided to follow God. Like, there were so many odds stacked against you. There was so much that hell tried to do to take you out, to ensure that you weren't going to be born. There's so many things and so many potholes that were put into your life to stop you from getting to this moment in time. There was so much that you had to overcome. There was so much that you had to deal with, and with tears in your eyes and with grit and with God's help, you made it. And there are moments when you have to remind yourself of your own track record. There are moments when you have to remind yourself of your own resume. You made it through so much. You've made it through you've already done so many hard things. You've already done so many hard things. What makes you think you can't do this one? You've already done so many hard things in your life. What makes you think you can't do this one? You've overcome the odds. You didn't stop. You did not destroy your life. You may have done some things that you wish you can do over, but you didn't. You did not destroy your destiny. Your destiny is still intact. Your future is still intact. You have come so far. Look back from where you started. I remember when I first started with God, and I used to believe that, man, I don't know if I'm ever get to the point I'm at now. I remember that was like so far away. And then when I was during the journey, when I was in the journey and I didn't have my friends left me, I didn't have friends for a long time. I didn't, I had low self-esteem. I didn't believe in myself. I used to let people treat me anyway. I used to be a people pleaser. I just used to, when I think back of who I was as somebody trying to figure it out, I was trying to figure it out, y'all. I'm a first generation graduate. No one went away to college. But I knew that if I wanted to get out of the hood, I had to go to school. I had to get out, and that was hard to leave the structure. So for everyone who's left the familiar structure, whether it was physically or spiritually, look at what you've overcome. Look at what you've done. You have literally taken the steps to walk out of the generational curse, whether spiritually or naturally. Remember where you were. Remember where you were when you first started. Remember your mindset. Remember your fears. Remember what it tastes like, what it felt like. Remember and ask yourself. I know that your present self is thanking. Your old self is thanking your present self right now. But just take some time to think back at where you were and what you felt that you couldn't do, and how big this mountain felt that is now just a hill, or even just you're standing on it right now. It's just flat ground now. Remember how big that destiny felt when you were 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, last month. Remember how big that mountain felt until you walked up on it and you climbed it. And now you're standing on top of a mountain, but you see the next one and it's bigger. Remember how you got to the mountain that you're on right now. Remember who you are. Remember that. You can do hard things because you've done them your entire life. You've done them your entire life. What makes this one different? What makes you doubt yourself this time? You've doubted yourself before, right? And guess what? You showed up and you showed out. You doubted yourself before. And even in your doubt and even in your fear, you got to the next part. You kept going and you stood up a little stronger, straighter. You walk with your shoulders back a little more. You stop letting people talk to you any way that they will talk to you. You stood up for yourself. You protected your integrity. You did all that. Yes, God helped you, but you had a part in that too, because y'all were co-laborers. Y'all were co-laborers. So if you've done it before, why can't you do it again on a greater level? Because you know that your reward for winning on this level is to fight on the next level. you've leveled up your entire life. Go back and ask yourself, what have I done that other people in my family have never done? What territory have I pioneered that was almost left a taste in my mouth? And people's, you know what I'm saying? I didn't think I could do it. You've done so much in so little time. Because, and I say so little time because our time here is nothing compared to eternity. Think of all the things you've done in so little time that you've been on earth. Think about it. Now ask yourself, can I go up? Can I continue on? Can I do something else? Because at one point, where you are now seemed far away. At one point, it seemed like it was impossible. At one point, Nikki, do not put that in there. I am not no pastor at all. You playing too much. At one point, you thought, I'm never going to make it. At one point, you thought, I'm never going to make it. But you made it. You made it. And you'll make it again, and you'll make it again, and you'll make it again, and you'll keep making it, and you'll keep making it. Why? Because you make things happen. You're going to do it again, and you're going to do it again. Sometimes I have to speak to myself that way. You're going to do it again, and you're going to do it again on the next level. Not that you're going to continue to fight the things that you've seen in the past, those giants. No, you're going to keep progressing. You're going to get up. Get up. And sometimes I tell myself that. I have to tell my spirit that. Get up. Do not take this laying down. Get up. Because you're destined to be up and not down. You're going to keep doing it. You're going to keep progressing. You're going to keep going from glory to glory. And yes, you may be looking like Rocky as you progress, but the goal is to progress. Ain't nobody say you're going to slay looking like you progress. But you're going to get there. I told y'all before, when you graduate and you go apply for a job, we want to know, did you get the degree? We don't really care about your GPA in high school, your GPA in college. We don't care. We want to know, did you finish? Finish? All right, cool. Let's go. We could talk now. We don't care. Those accolades only matter in some circles. Did you finish? Because the reason why we want to know, did you finish, is because we want to know, are you going to continue on in the tasks that we give you and try to finish with our company? We don't want to invest in quitters. We don't want to invest in people who quit in the middle and who do things half stuffed. You know, we don't want that. Are you a finisher? Because we need things finished over here. This is how we make progress. And for so long, so many believers have not been finishers. So many believers have spiritually bypassed. So many believers said, I'm waiting on God. No, he's waiting on you. So many believers have tried to cast off restraint and cast off what they were supposed to do in order to say, God, okay, now you do this. And it's like, no, who taught you that was the faith? Who taught you that God was going to do everything for you? And please show me in the Bible where he's done everything for somebody. Please tell me where he is physically manifested and did everything for them. Even when he told the woman and he saved the woman, he told her, which woman is this? When he told her, go sin no more. The woman caught in the act of adultery. Go sin no more. She had something to do. She had to stop sinning. He didn't stop her from sinning. He told her, stop doing it. When did he do everything? When did he do everything in the Bible? Noah still had to build the ark. The children of Israel still had to march around the wall. David still had to sling the rock. Shall I continue on? Because the one time he did it, for every, one time he did do everything when the 10 Commandments, he gave it to Moses. What Moses do? He threw him down. And God's like, now you come back up here and you write what I told you to write. Because the first time, you know what I'm saying, before you broke it, I did it for you. And, you ain't appreciate it. I ain't doing it for you no more. Now you go and put on this in this labor and do this. God's not going to do it for us. He's going to do his part. Sometimes his part is like eventually. Or sometimes the Holy Spirit's part is, not sometimes, guide you as you go. But he's not going to do what he's giving you the ability to do. That will keep you irresponsible. What parent, I'm not a parent, but I'm pretty sure I know that my mama stopped doing stuff for me at a certain age. You know what I'm saying? Because if she didn't, I would have to be dependent on her in a very unproductive way. I would not know how to do all the things that I know how to do as an adult. Same with God. Yes, he wants you to depend on him, but in the right perspective. Yes, depend on him, but do your part too. You have a part in the earth. As a human, you have responsibility. We are in a partnership. He's just not going to do everything for you. Y'all know that. Have you ever seen those memes, those videos where the man saved the sheep out of the little ditch and then the sheep run around and just get back into the ditch? Like the sheep falls into the ditch, the man comes out, get him out the ditch, and then the sheep runs back and go back into the same ditch. That's the image that I see if God just does stuff for us. Like we run in the ditch. He like, all right, let me get you out this ditch. And then we run back. He like, now this time you finna struggle and you're going to have to help me get you out. Because when I got you out when you ain't feel no pain, you went right back in the ditch. But now you know what that pain feel like. You're not going to touch that stove anymore. You're not going to touch that stove anymore because it's hot. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, we'd have been all around the world tonight and we have been on here for 2 hours. I ain't got nothing else for y'all. Y'all got any questions for me? Congratulations. Congratulations. You have finished. I don't care how you finish. Some of us finished. Some of us swam to the finish line. Some of us finished on boards. Some of us finished on pieces of the ship, but we finished. And that's all I got. And I'm proud of you. Y'all, I think I'm dropping the Kingdom series Thursday. I think. If I do, it would be Thursday at 5 p.m. If you can't make it, just watch the replay. It's going to be all good. I think I need to drop it before next week. So if you are able, I'll put up a flyer or I'll send out an email, whatever, to confirm tomorrow or probably Thursday morning. But the Kingdom series will drop on 9 times out of 10 is going to drop on Thursday. Okay. I don't have anything, y'all. I don't have anything else. Thank you for journeying with me. Thank you for allowing me to lead you and pour into your lives during this challenge. And as I continue to pray for y'all, please continue to pray for me. And yeah, that's it. That's all I got. We in, we out, because in June, I'm taking a break. So in June, I'm taking a break. This is why I have to get this Kingdom series out this week. Anyway, I will see y'all on Thursday. Shop the Builders Collection if you want to. Nikki just dropped it in the site. Thank you for being in the chat. Thank you so much. I'm probably finna go get me something to eat and go to bed because your girl's tired now. But yeah, look out. And good night. That's all I got. Watch this as many times as you need to. All right, y'all.